Ladies and gentlemen, a new season is launching tonight in Marvel Snap, which means a new season pass and a new season pass card. NIMROD is the card coming in Marvel Snap tonight. Is this card going to be worth your purchase, and how meta-defining will he be? We're going to share my thoughts in this video, as well as outlining some deck ideas for you to try on day one. And if you're ready for all of that, Valley Maniacs, you know what to do. Find that like button and let's go snap it!
ValleyFlyin.
Hello, Valley Maniacs. What is up? Welcome to the Valley Snap channel. I am ValleyFlyin. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're ready for the new season starting tonight in Marvel Snap. New card NIMROD and new X-Men related cards are coming to Marvel Snap. Now, if it's your first time here on the channel, hit that subscribe button for more great Marvel Snap content. At least 5 Marvel Snap videos per week on this channel. Usually there's a lot more with news, tip, deck ideas, everything to help your Marvel Snap experience. But let's go right now and talk about this new card NIMROD that is coming in just a few short hours, and this is a very interesting card. It's a 5/5 card, and when this card is destroyed, you're going to add a copy to each other location. So kind of like Arnim Zola, what Arnim Zola will do, actually adding a copy to each other location. And this makes it a interesting card. So obviously it's going to synergize well with destroy decks, give some Galactus decks if you have that card a little bit more power, but running some very, very fun decks. And obviously this is a 5-cost card, so you can make some very fun Cerebro decks in here as well. We're going to talk about some deck ideas in just a little bit, but let's talk about some cards that synergize well with NIMROD. And the first card that I want to talk about is obviously the destroy cards. It is cards like Carnage, because Carnage is a destroy card. It's going to destroy your other cards, and it's going to get +2 power each time this is destroyed. So this is a great card that you can play after you play that NIMROD card. Other destroy cards that work very well with this are going to be Deathlock. And the good thing about this is if you're playing Deathlock on turn 6, you could combine it with some other cards, destroying that NIMROD and combining his power or moving his power to other locations. Venom is a great card as well. Another card that works well with Arnim Zola, but also is a destroy card, and sort of like Venom, except Venom is going to combine all your cards' power, and that is going to be the power of Venom. Carnage is going to just give you a straight 2 power for every card that you destroy. So sometimes using Venom will get you more power. Sometimes using Carnage will get you more power, depending on his situation. Now, the other thing, if we go back and look at NIMROD, at his deck here, you'll see that when his card is destroyed, it's going to add a copy to each other location. So we also have decks that work well that are going to ramp his value up. So cards like Nakia, cards like Forge are going to make him a little stronger, which means that when he's destroyed, the other copies are going to be that increased power level. So other cards that could boost them up are going to be very good. Another card that boosts them up very well is a card like Shuri, because Shuri is going to double the power of the next card that you play. And if the next card that you play is NIMROD, and hopefully you're ramping this, which means Shuri's coming out on turn 3, NIMROD's coming out on turn 4, you could have some extra turns to destroy that NIMROD. But if you're just playing Shuri on 4 at cost, the next card you play will be NIMROD, and you could get 2 10-powered NIMRODs because Shuri's going to double the power. So cards that ramp this up, or cards that increase the power, are going to be very good for NIMROD as well. And as we take a look at more cards that work with NIMROD, obviously cards that will destroy are going to be very good. We talked about Carnage, Deathlock, Venom, other cards like that, but we also have some other cards that will do that on the final turn of the game, like Destroyer. On reveal, just going to destroy your other cards there. So it's going to destroy all your other cards, not just at that location, across the whole board. So hopefully you have some cards protected by armor, or maybe not. Maybe you want to destroy the other cards because you have some other cards like Bucky Barnes or Wolverine that really want to get destroyed. That'll help you. But Destroy is a great card there. We mentioned Arnim Zola, and it's sort of like Arnim Zola, what NIMROD does. Well, actually having Arnim Zola do that, destroy this card, put it at other locations, and then have other cards destroy them for multiple times per game, not just that once with Arnim Zola, not just once with Destroyer, but multiple times with Arnim Zola followed up with maybe a Carnage or a Deathlock on that final turn. If you ramp this on turn 5 and then get NIMROD on in turn 4, you got some great plays there. And then obviously the big bad Galactus. This is a pool 5 card, a permanent pool 5 card, and at least permanent as of now. Galactus. Now this is going to be 6,000 tokens. If you already have this in your deck, well then NIMROD will work well in Galactus decks, and we will cover a great Galactus deck that I saw that I want to talk about. But Galactus works very well in this deck. Now we talked about other cards that want to get destroyed, like a Bucky Barnes, because when Bucky Barnes is destroyed, will turn into a Winter Soldier. So that could work well in the Destroyer deck or any other location that you're Carnaging or Venoming, and could make that card even stronger. Other cards that want to get destroyed very well, in addition to Bucky Barnes, is also Wolverine. Works very well in this deck, especially if you're combining in a Galactus deck in Deathpool or Deadpool. The more you destroy this, it's going to return to your hand and double the power. So if you're having a deck that has a lot of destructions of Deathpool, you're using those Carnages, Deathlocks, other cards, you could have a very, very strong Deadpool, and you're having a bunch of Nimrods in other lanes, and you could have a lot of power on the board. Now, obviously, you want to try to get that Nimrod out early because it is a 5-cost card. So if you have it on turn 5, you're only going to get 1 turn to use that in. Obviously, you could extend a game by playing a Magic, making it a 7-turn game, which means that you can play it on turn and be fine. But you also want to include some ramp decks in a lot of these Nimrod decks to get them out a little early. So cards like Electro work very well. Other cards like Wave, Psylocke, other cards are going to get your cards out early, work very well in this deck. And obviously, this being a destroy deck with a lot of deaths on there, well, an actual death card is very good as well. But before we get to these Nimrod decks, I do want to talk about some counters to Nimrod, because he is going to have some day 1 counters. Now, he is a destroy card, so any card that counters that destroy aspect will be a counter to Nimrod. So some cards that will counter that are Armor. Obviously, this being a card that you cannot destroy the cards at this location. If your opponent armors that Nimrod location, well, that would screw up a lot of your plays there, unless you're using a Galactus or something like that. Galactus would still be fine here, but it would screw up a Destroyer play, would screw up a Arnim Zola play. A lot of your other plays, Carnage, Venom, will be negated by this Armor. Other card that would negate it is Cosmo, because all of those destroy mechanics are on reveal abilities, and if you don't have any on reveal abilities from Cosmo, well, you can't destroy that card. So Cosmo's obviously a hard counter. And if your Nimrod gets moved to a different location, let's say, or your destroy card gets moved to a different location by arrow, well, that is going to destroy the wrong cards, and you could get screwed with that. Now, it'll still kind of, if you're playing Destroyer, that'll still work. It may go down in the wrong lane, which is wrong, but those are the 3 main cards that are going to counter Nimrod, at least on day 1, before we count to see some more decks that work in this. But let's take out some of the decks that you're going to have some fun with on day 1. The first deck I want to talk about is this Destroyer base deck. Now, we have a lot of typical ramp options here, with all Psylocke, Electro, and Wave being a ramp option. We also have Magic here to make it a potential 7-turn game in case we don't get that ramp early on. But we have that classic Sunspot Armor turn 1-2 play, and because we have Magic in this deck, we also have a strong turn 7 play of Infinite She-Hulk with that 30 power dropped on turn 7. But if we really want to lean into this Nimrod archetype, and those are obviously backup plans, if we really want to lean into this Nimrod archetype, we want to get that out on as soon as possible. So obviously, if we could put that Electro out there, we could get Nimrod out on turn 4, we could Destroyer on turn 5, and then we have an option for She-Hulk or maybe Death or some other cards on turn 6 if we don't get that Magic ramp. So this is a fun deck. This is one of the early decks. This is probably the first deck that I'm going to use. And the good thing about this deck is that there are no pool 4 or 5 cards in this deck. So if you're just in pool 3 and you have some of these cards, this is a deck that you could try on day 1. Next fun deck for Nimrod that I want to test out on day 1 is one base run Shuri, trying to double up that Nimrod power, making it a 5-10 card. But we have some options here. We have that classic Black Panther Arnim Zola play if we don't pull that Nimrod. We also have Wong, that if we can ramp Wong and with a Psylocke or a Zabo to get out on turn 3, we can Shuri turn 4, making her even more powerful and giving us an even stronger Nimrod or Black Panther on turn 5. And then on turn 6, we have an option to either copy that Black Panther with a strong Taskmaster, do the classic Arnim Zola Black Panther play, or we could also do that with Nimrod. We have a bunch of other destroy cards in here. In Carnage, we have Deathlock that could also do some destroys. We got cards that can be destroyed like Bucky Barnes, and we have Iceman in here for some destruction. So this is a fun deck. This is more based around that Shuri archetype. Next deck I want to talk about that looks like it's a very strong deck, and this may make Galactus the even more powerful archetype. It does feature Galactus, and it's kind of based around that Galactus archetype. So this is a pool 5 card, so I wanted to feature some other decks that didn't feature any pool 5 cards before I showed this deck, because I think this is going to be a very strong deck. Now, what this Nimrod card does is gives us the option to potentially play Galactus on turn 6 instead of having to play Galactus on turn 5 and then following up with cards like Death, or null. This gives us an option, especially if we are able to double that Nimrod power to 10. We could get 2 copies of 10, so the 20 extra power on the board on that final turn. This gives us a lot of options here. So obviously Daredevil is in this deck, so we can see what our opponent's doing on turn 5. We have Wolverine in his deck as well. If we get that out early, that gets destroyed. Well, we could have additional power for a Galactus location as well. We have some ramp options as well for Electro Wave in case we don't pull that Shuri. We could get Nimrod out on turn 5, and then turn 6 we could follow up with Galactus. We also, if we get that Daredevil, we could also play that Hobgoblin into the lane we will play Galactus in, giving us a little more power there. We could actually, with this ramp, we could actually get Nimrod, Hobgoblin, and then turn 6 Galactus or turn 6 Destroyer. Death is in there in case we destroy a bunch of stuff early on turn 5, in case we are able to ramp either Destroyer or Galactus out early and destroying a bunch of cards. We could get that death there for some added benefit at the end, and Shang-Chi is obviously tech card. So we got a few options. If we get Shuri out on turn 4, we can either double up that Hobgoblin, giving him negative 16 in the lane that we want to play that Galactus, or we could double up our Nimrod and giving us a 2 10-powered cards after that Nimrod is destroyed. So a few different options here with this deck. I like the versatility of this, so this is one that I'm really excited to try out. And last but not least, this one looks to be the most fun deck. Now, of those 3 decks, I think there are more competitive decks they will be competitive decks in the meta. I don't know if this is going to be a very competitive deck, but I think this is going to be a very fun deck. As you know, Nimrod is a 5 card, so Cerebro decks are always fun if you get them to work, but sometimes they get screwed up by locations. They're very easily screwed up, so they don't always work. But when they do work, they are so fun to pull off. So we got cards here that have 5 power, like Titania, like Lizard, like Deathlock. We have that Polaris, that Nimrod. Sandman is in there as well. Dr. Doom gives us some reach. I've also seen cards like Miles included in this deck. And if you do get a card moving, then with Polaris, well, you get a 1/5 Miles. So that's another card that you can include in this deck. But we have some ramp cards here in Psylocke and Wave. We also have some location lockdown with Storm, and that'll give us that reach that we want with Dr. Doom. Also the reach that we may want with Nimrod as well, just trying to get as many cards out there as possible. We got Deathlock for potential turn 6 play, along with potentially Cerebro or Cerebro Deathlock, or maybe even wanted to double up the Cerebro Mystique to increase that effect that Cerebro has on the board. So we got a lot of options here. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be the most competitive deck, but I think this is going to be a very fun deck that you can include Nimrod in. All right, guys, so those are some of the fun decks for Nimrod, and I think he's going to be a strong card, but maybe not as meta-defining and meta-changing as we had with Zabu and Surfer. I think he's going to be a fun card that you could slot into a lot of decks, and you could have some fun time theory crafting where you could use him. I would see his power level more along the lines of MODOK for some fun, and maybe slotting into a few decks rather than changing the entire meta. But I think it's going to be a fun card. Let me know what, if you're planning to purchase this season pass when it comes out. I do think the value is there, even if you're not using the card, in terms of gold and credits and everything that you get from the season pass. But let me know if you're planning on purchasing it, and if you are, what deck are you gonna first start off with Nimrod in? That is it, guys. Hopefully enjoy this deck, and hopefully enjoy this new season that is starting later today. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy, have fun playing Marvel Snap, and I'll see you guys next time. Hulk Fist Bump, ValleyFlyin out.